Hey guys, we're going to be doing three things today. The first thing is we're going to be doing some reamping. Hey, reamping, good thing to know how to do. I have two guitar parts that I recorded a while back. Got the direct output of the guitars, used an amp plug-in, but that amp plug-in didn't sound that great. Good performances though, so I'm going to take those guitar parts and we're going to reamp those guitar parts. Going to run them through a Marshall SV20 amplifier and come out of that amplifier and go into the Universal Audio aux box, and we'll record the output of that aux box and try and get a better sound than what we had with those amp plugins that I used. Let's get started. Okay, so I started recording this song and I was in a place where I didn't have an amp, and so what I did was I just plugged my guitar into the instrument inputs on my Apollo, and over here I just put in a Marshall Plexi Super Lead from UAD and got a sound that worked for me and started tracking this thing. What I've got on the track, if we solo it here, there's a chord track and then a riff track. Here's the chord track. So without, of course, the room and the plugins, that's just the DI of the guitar, so that's the audio that's recorded. There's the chord track, and then I've got the same procedure here on this track right here, which is the riff track. Ran it into the same Marshall plugin, probably a little bit different settings, I guess. The riff track sounds like this. Plexi, if I take away the inserts, of course, you just end up with this. Okay, so after getting the song tracked and using the plugins that I used,
what with all this noise outside the window,
I decided that the amp plugin wasn't that great and wasn't cutting it, so I need to reamp through a real tube amp. So the amp we're going to be using is this Marshall SV20 amp. It can run at 20 watts or 5 watts. I'm running it at 20 watts. This Marshall is based off the old 100 watt Plexis. It just has simple tone controls, presence, bass, middle, treble. And then it has the two volume controls, high and normal, and you can do the cross patching in it, which enables you to use both of them at the same time. So I'm not running this Marshall head into a speaker cabinet. What I'm doing is I'm running it into a Universal Audio aux box, which puts a load on the amplifier, an appropriate load at 16 ohms. And also it has some capabilities of modeling many different cabinets with different microphones, and you can come straight out of the aux box and go line into an audio interface, which is what I'm doing. There's a really cool graphic interface for the aux box, so you can select different cabinets and control the microphones and use different plugins such as EQ. You can change the cabinets. You can change the microphones. You can put them off axis if you want. You can play around with the EQ. You can change the blend of the microphones. It's a really well done graphic user interface. So I'm coming out of the line output of the audio interface from my patch bay, going into the Radial XM reamp box, heading into the line input from the line output of the interface, and then coming out at instrument level on the quarter inch and heading into the input of the Marshall at guitar level. Okay, so let's do this. We'll go out of output 3 and we'll solo our guitar chord DI here and hit play. So this is just me messing around with the Marshall, trying to see how it reacts to the DI that's hitting it. And I'm just using my ears, messing with the knobs and trying to get something different or close to what I need. What if we lower the output here and then raise the volume on the Marshall? There we go. See how that works. Let's get some room on that just for monitoring. How about this guy? How about medium room? Okay, so then rather than bore you with the nitty-gritty of what I did there, it was just a lot of A-Bing and going back and forth and adjusting the amp and messing around with the parameters on the aux box so I could get the mics correct and the different EQ on the mics and that sort of thing until finally things started to sound the way I wanted them to. So, after messing with this for a heck of a long time here, I came up with a cabinet that I like, and a sound that I think is better than the thing that I got real quick when I was, tracking the thing as a demo. So I came up with this cabinet in the aux that I favored a ribbon mic over a condenser mic. Condenser mic was kind of bright. The ribbon mic was, was fatter, of course. There's a room mic that I left that mic alone as far as the EQ that came with the little setup here. Got it blended in the way I thought it worked okay. On the ribbon EQ, I backed off on the high end that it was picking up. So I think this is a better guitar sound, so I'm just going to go ahead and print this on a track. I'm going to type original there, so then I'm going to, on the chord track, we'll just duplicate this track and rename it Chords aux SV20. So let's print this. So let's do this with the other guitar track now. This is the riff track. I bounced down this track here, the EGT riff track that has the Marshall Plexi plug-in. I bounced it down to a track just so I didn't have to run that plug-in, which is a good thing because now I can A/B that original sound that I got from the plug-in with what I'm doing today. We'll take this DI track and we'll kill this plug-in and the room, and we're going to send it out of an output to go to the Marshall, which is output 3. So there we go, and we'll unmute that. And so now we can start A/Bing the bounce down riff track here. So we'll get ourselves in a loop to work with the Marshall. Okay, so the same thing here, just A/Bing against the old bounced down riff track and the output of the riff track driving the Marshall and trying to get, a similar sound that I think is better. Just going back and forth. I've got everything in a loop, and I am, I'll listen to the old track and I'll listen to what's the Marshall's doing, go back and forth until I'm happy with what I'm hearing. All right, I think I'll use that. Let's go ahead and print that. Okay, so we've reamped these two guitar parts, and what we have here are the two original guitar parts, the treated guitar parts from that original plug-in, and the two reamped parts. We have the chord part, the original, and the SV20, and we have the riff part, the original, and the SV20, and we're going to do a little A/Bing here, so we'll be able to tell what's going on if you keep your eye on these mutes. here we go. So here, I'll loop a section here. Okay, so this is the new guitar. Yeah, I think that the reamped guitars have a little bit more beef to them, and they have a little bit more presence to them. Here's the next section of the tune, new guitars. Here's the old guitars. Okay. Well, all right, I do think those two guitar parts sound better with the reamping going through the Marshall and the aux box. I don't know if you've experimented with reamping before. It just takes recording a DI of your guitar on a track. You could be recording an amp at the same time, or just the DI and use a plug-in like I did here. Regardless, I hope you learned something about the Universal Audio aux box and the Marshall SV20. I'm Rusty Smith for Record Mix Repeat.